Hey, everybody, this is Kristie with AG Takes Over. Settle in. At the beginning of April, I created a post that read, I need your input. I'm putting together an updated All My Dolls video because it's been over a year. We have just over 100 dolls, eek, and I want to cover them all in one video. So what I need to know is how long can it be? Even 30 seconds per doll would add up to a 50-minute video. So would you rather have a long video to get to know a bit more about each doll, or a 50-ish minute one that tells just a couple quick facts, or a lightning fast, here's one bit of trivia about each doll approach? Also, what kinds of information do you like learning about people's collections and All My Dolls videos? Feel free to vote and comment. Thanks. And then the three options I gave were long. I will watch it in installments if I need. I want the details. Or long, but don't get crazy. 30 seconds per doll is plenty. And shorter, just share one quick thing per doll and zip along to the next. So those are the three options. And over 230 people responded, which was so nice. Overwhelmingly, the preference was for the long format. So that's what you get today. You are welcome to watch it in one go. You can have it on the background while you're doing something else, or you can watch it in bits and pieces. Regardless, I am grateful that you're interested in my dolls and you're choosing to watch it all. So thank you. Also, some things to note. I am not going in order of acquisition this time, but I'm going by doll line. So I'm going to start with Girl of the Year and their friends. There are 12 in our collection. Then Truly Me's, we have 40. Then Historical Dolls and their friends, 13 of those. Contemporary Dolls, we have 5. Create Your Own Dolls, we have 13. Customs, 16 of those. Limited Edition Dolls, 3 of them. And Disney Princess Dolls, we have 1. So the Girl of the Years go in order of release. Truly Me's go in numerical order, and historicals are ordered by their era rather than their release year. So if you want to skip around and just watch certain sections, hopefully that information will make it easier for you. Also, pay attention to the introductory picture for each doll. I'm sharing 3 or 4 pictures of each doll, but pay attention to the first picture because it contains the name of the doll, but also there's going to be either a K, a G, or a K and G on each one. As many of you know, my collection is shared between my wife and I, so this is going to let you know whether a doll is technically mine, technically my wife's, or whether we bought it together. Of the 103 dolls that I'm introducing today, 45 are technically Grace's. Mostly that means that she bought them for herself, but sometimes it means they were gifts from me to her. Of that same 103 dolls, 17 are technically mine, meaning I bought them or Grace bought them for me. And 41 of the dolls in our collection are ones that we went halves on. I hadn't included that information in the past All My Dolls videos, so I hope that people who've watched the previous ones will appreciate some additional bits of information like that. Anyway, let's dive in. So first up is Gwen. We paid $50 for her, and we got her from my older daughter's friend's house, or her childhood house. She is beautiful. She has these lovely lashes, probably the most glam lashes of any doll in our collection. And out of 103 dolls right now, only 10 of them are classic molds in our collection. So I think this one and Isabel are among 2 of the sweetest face classic molds that American Girl has ever made. So yeah, it kind of takes a lot to make it into our collection if you're a classic mold. And she has definitely earned her place. Also, a little bit of loosely related tea. So I mentioned that the mother of my older daughter's friend is the one who sold us this doll. Well, shortly after we got her, the friend was actually really hurtful and super uncool to my daughter, and they had a falling out, so they don't talk anymore. It was for the best, and I'm super proud of her, of my 22-year-old, for realizing that she deserved more from a friendship. But also the timing of their fallout makes me even more grateful that we got this beauty when we did and for the price that we did, because it definitely wouldn't have been an option now. Next is number 2, Kanani. I have only been scammed twice by doll sellers. Once was for a Kanani that I bought from someone selling in an American Girl Facebook group. And if I remember correctly, I had already bought one Kanani locally. And I did that, like I picked her up at night and I didn't realize how, her hair was kind of rough. So I decided, well, I'll keep her intact. I think she's okay. But I also want a Kanani to customize. So I bought one from this Facebook group. The seller never sent the doll, never responded to any of my inquiries. And fortunately, I am no fool, and I had added purchase protection when I used Venmo. I either use Venmo or PayPal, but I always use purchase protection if shipping is involved. So I did get a refund, no harm done. And then I later got another Kanani doll locally and realized the second one's wig was actually in better shape. So she became my intact Kanani, and I re-wigged the other one to make Alexis, who I'll introduce later in the video. I'm still not entirely thrilled with this girl's hair, so I'm considering sending her into the hospital for a new head. Yes, I worry about her eyes because, chest molds, and that's risky, but I would love for her to have a brand new wig because I've never had a Kanani with new hair. All right. Number 3 is Sage. She is the second Sage to be in our house. Maybe the third. I don't know. The first one we fixed up to sell for a friend whose kiddo had moved on from dolls. Honestly, I don't think Grace or I thought much of her at the time. Hers was one of the first Girl of the Year books that I read, but I didn't feel any need to have her. Occasionally we would see people's pictures of her, and mostly she felt average, but every once in a while somebody would post a picture of her and she would just look stunning. And we'd be like, I don't know, maybe yes to Sage, whatever. And then we'd move on. So one day we saw a local listing on Facebook Marketplace for her and a few of her outfits, and the whole lot was $100. So it probably made her about $60, and her hair wasn't too bad off. So we decided to get her. And I have to say, we have not given her enough love yet. So check back with me on the next All My Dolls video sometime next year, and we will either have given her a lot more attention and we'll feel more attached to her, or we may decide that she wasn't meant to be a permanent member of the collection. And I don't think that's horrible. I know everybody views collecting differently, but I think our dolls are kind of like friends. Like some people in your life are acquaintances, and some are besties, and some are important but temporary. And as long as we appreciate them in whatever their capacity is, it's okay. It's okay. So time will tell with her. Number 4 is Grace. So Grace is Grace's doll. Of course she is. Both of them bake. Both of them have visited Paris. Both have dark hair and blue eyes, and they share a name. Grace Thomas was the first doll that my wife bought when she started collecting as an adult after years and years away from her childhood dolls. So she got back into it in, I think, late 2019. And now she has pretty much everything in Grace's collection. And her bakery, it remains by far the most expensive item Grace has ever purchased for American Girl doll stuff. And that's considering she paid what's considered a fair price. I think it was like $600. Personally, I love her eyebrows and her hair, her freckles, her eyes, and the doll is not among my top dolls, but I do think she's gorgeous, and I have often said I think she has the most cohesive, lovely collection of all of the Girl of the Year dolls. Number 5 is Leah. She is so beautiful. Longtime viewers will know her story already, but because not all of you are longtime viewers, I'll recap. So bear with me if you've heard this before. We went to someone's house to meet up and get 2 dolls, a 25, if I remember correctly, and Leah. The guy met us at the car, and holy crap, the smoke. It was so bad. And he was chatty too. So he was talking to us about how he does storage unit auctions or something. And that's how he got the dolls. He's telling us what else he got, blah, blah, blah. They were only $25 each. And part of me just wanted to turn around and leave because I was like, he smells so bad. And I'm sure the dolls are going to too. It was hard to know because how can you distinguish the smell of them and him leaning down and talking to us right at the window? But yeah, we took them. It did, in fact, take for freaking ever. And in addition to the smell, she had a bit of shimmer on her face, like makeup that some kid had put on her. We eventually got the smell out. I tried everything from baking soda to coffee grounds to cat litter. And finally, I guess some combination of it worked. But the shimmer was kind of stuck. Not super noticeable, but we did eventually send her in for a head replacement. And she is just lovely. I don't like a ton in her collection, and I didn't love her movie. I only read her first book, but as a doll, I just love her. She, fun fact, is the most posted, or at least the most hashtagged, named doll, American Girl doll on Instagram. And we have gotten and sold a couple of Leahs since her, but because of her stubborn odors, I don't know, she just reminds me of persistence and overcoming obstacles, and I'm particularly partial to this Leah. Number 6 is Gabriella. She is the first American Girl doll that I ever bought for myself. My wife had given me a doll, so I had one, but I wanted her to have a friend, of course, and Gabriella just called to me. I got on eBay and I started looking through dolls, and it was her. Like, I should have known then how much I would end up favoring the Sonali mold. I love this doll. Every time I do a mental exercise, like pushing myself to prioritize the dolls, she's in the top. I think her coloring is gorgeous. And unlike Leah or Sage or even Grace, I did read all of Gabriella's books, and her character's personality is a bit of the part of the attachment I feel to her. Her character is just, she's creative and she's brave and she's not whiny and she's a good friend and she has a strong conscience. I don't know. She's just amazing in spite of how wrong AG did her. Love Gabriella. Number 7 is Blair. She came out the year that my younger daughter was born, and we picked up the Costco Blair set to hold back for our little one so that when she's old enough to take care of her, she can have the Girl of the Year of her birth year. My older daughter has Lindsay from her birth year, 2001. So yeah, we figured, oh, that'll be so cool. Even though our girls are really far apart, they will both have the Girl of the Year from their birth year. Anyway, Grace was seeing all these people posting their Blair pictures and kept saying, she's so pretty and she has this unique skin tone and I love the green eyes and her hair is gorgeous and I really want one for myself. So I was like, go for it. She got one. And like way too many Josefina molds, her eyes were wonky, but they look better now. I don't remember if I swapped her or if we just fiddled with them a bit, but whatever we did, plus the vinyl lashes, has helped. Blair has my favorite meat outfit of all of the Girl of the Year dolls, and I love, love, love her purple sandals. In general, her collection might be my second favorite Girl of the Year collection, second to Grace's. And for color, it's my favorite. But yeah, her pets, her color scheme, the clothes, her big ticket items. We have her restaurant and the wedding arch thing. Yeah, I like the doll, but I really like her collection. All right, moving on to number 8, Joss. So if Grace Thomas wins for the most comprehensive and extensive Girl of the Year collection in our home, and Blair wins for the best Girl of the Year color scheme and meat outfit, I would say Joss wins, or at least ties with Gabriella, for my favorite Girl of the Year doll. In fact, maybe I would pick Joss over Gabriella. And here's why. Gabriella is a beautiful older Sonali mold, but there are other beautiful older Sonali mold dolls that I also love. Joss, unpopular opinion here, I know, but I think she is the best Joss mold doll. Like, it's the eyebrows for me. I do not like the eyebrows that they have opted for on every single other Joss mold doll. So she is my favorite one. Grace is the one who bought her, just like she was the one who bought Grace, and she was the one who bought Blair. And if she wanted to sell Grace or Blair, I would be like, okay, just don't sell their collection. But with Joss, if she sold that doll, I would have to be the buyer because I want her in our collection. I feel really strongly about that. Don't ask me if I think she offers great representation for deaf folks. For those of you who know my channel, you know I'm a sign language interpreter, and I've been interpreting for about 25 years. I do have opinions, and I will try to keep the short answer, or keep the answer short. So the books read like they're written by someone unfamiliar with the signing, culturally deaf community. And while they do represent some hard of hearing kids' experiences, my concern is that readers could walk away thinking that what they read is representative of a larger demographic than it really is. And I find it unfortunate, but entirely unsurprising, that AG chose to show the version of hearing loss that requires the least adjustment from society at large. Just like Blair's food allergy impacted her life, but it wasn't a life-threatening peanut allergy that would require kids around her to make sacrifices or adjustments to their lunches and food. And just like Covey's ADHD impacted her, but it really didn't impact her conversations or friendships or require people in her life to learn a lot or do things very differently. I feel the same way about Joss's hearing loss. And really, the list could go on, right? Mostly, I had mixed feelings about her books and the kind of representation it did and didn't offer. But I generally don't say much about that because I want deaf people to have the space and the floor to say what they want to say about her and her books. I do love that she has a special ear design to accommodate a hearing aid. And I just think she has the sweetest face. I like her hair. But for me, it is the face and the fact that the sweetness of her face is not lessened by mean girl eyebrows. All right, enough about my Joss diatribe. Moving on to number 9, Kira Bailey. We got this girl a few years after she retired. She was at Once Upon a Child for like $30. Her hair was a wreck, and I restored it. A bunch of things that I'm going to be referencing as I talk through these. I'll just put videos in the descriptions in case you've happened to miss them. So be sure to check out all the links in the description. A lot of people say that Kira is boring and that she looks too similar to Julie, and I get that, and I can't argue it. But at the same time, she has a very different vibe than Julie, and she photographs really well. If I'm honest, I mainly got her for the challenge of restoring her, and because the price was right, obviously. I could see her being a doll that we'll keep for a few years and maybe part with later. But if we do, I don't think we'll lose money on her, so that's good, and I will feel really good about rehoming her in much better condition than I got her in. Fun fact, I bought Kira's hut 2 or 3 years before buying her, and the hut is still in its box. It's the only big ticket item that we have that's still in the box, because I have Leah's hut that I got used and kind of zhuzhed up, and I don't want to have both huts on display at the same time. So I guess whenever we decide to part with Leah's hut, I'll unbox Kira's, which that might be years. I don't know. I'm in no hurry. Also, screw people who were so bothered by Kira's queer great aunts, Mamie and Lynette. How is it possible that out of hundreds, literal hundreds of books that American Girl has published with named characters and stories, there are a few pages of one book that make reference to 2 supporting characters in a queer relationship or queer marriage, and somehow that is too much representation. That's too much representation for my daughter to see her family reflected in a kind of tangentially reflected in a couple pages in one out of their hundreds of books. Give me a break. Be so serious right now with that bigotry. Okay. Man, Joss and Kira got me ranting. All right. Number 10, Corinne. By the time Corinne came out, I was personally feeling a bit overwhelmed by the dolls in our collection, and I just wasn't sure how to display them all without feeling like they were crowded. And I did since resolve that issue by creating a space in our basement and adding another shelf in our upstairs doll room / my workspace. But anyway, because of how I was feeling at the time, I had mixed feelings about adding Corinne to our collection. On the one hand, I felt like, in what space? And I also didn't love the blue hair. I might be that weirdo that actually does prefer the removable hairpiece that Isabel has. Also, I was surprised to see how much bigger her eye sockets and her eyes seemed, and I was a little bit worried that AG might decide to start shifting all of their dolls towards more like Disney illy proportions, which would be a game changer for me, like in a bad way. But Grace and I have separate budgets, and she wanted Corinne, so she got her, and I had to magic some extra space in the house. Whatever, I did it. I like her. I do like 124 better visually, even though I would definitely remove her bottom painted lashes. I like Corinne's books a lot, and she is one that I think is pretty, but if Grace decided to sell her, I wouldn't feel the need to replace her. And if I did, honestly, it would probably be with 124. If they would do different eyebrows on this mold, I would be much more interested in her. So Corinne mold eyebrows and the post Joss mold eyebrows, I'm just not a big fan of. All right, moving right along. Number 11 is Covey. I have not historically loved the Marie Grace mold, and so I was super excited about Covey when I heard about her. I was envisioning a bit darker skin. I think several of us were. I do think she's pretty. Her books, I have real mixed feelings about. There are lots of aspects of them that kind of annoy me, and I talk about that in another video. It's her farewell video, which I will link in the description. I think her big ticket items are flimsy, so we didn't get the stage. I just redid Tenny's stage to look like a Covey stage. For the most part, I think her clothing collection is kind of underwhelming, but I felt the same way about Corinne's. But as a doll, I like her. She looks amazing in jewel tones. She looks great in like fall looks. And I think that she brought unique hobbies to the Girl of the Year line. I think that my wife is probably more attached to her than I am. She's another one that I would maybe not replace if Grace decided to sell her. And I know that she's in Grace's top 20. So we definitely have different levels of attachment to her. All right. Lila, number 12. And this is the last, obviously, of the Girl of the Year dolls because that takes us up to this year. I think Lila is adorable. She photographs beautifully. I don't like her collection at all. I mean, the horse stuff, it's not a matter of whether I like actively dislike it. I just don't care. It's not an interest of mine. So, whatever. I don't like her collection at all. I do appreciate the addition of orange as a primary collection color. Like, thank you for something other than pink and purple, AG. I haven't read her book. I honestly wouldn't even have gotten her because I just don't feel like she's different enough to warrant a place in our large collection. I know if you're familiar with my collection, you're going, hypocrite, because as you'll see later, we have doubles of multiple dolls. I don't know. Don't ask me to make sense. But this one was definitely all Grace. I'm not attached to Lila at all. That said, I'll be the first to admit that she is gorgeous and she photographs well, and I don't mind at all that she's in our collection. I'm just at a place of wanting to be really selective about adding dolls at this point. So it is no attack on this early bird Girl of the Year. Just for me, she wouldn't have warranted a place. All right, so that is the Girl of the Year. Moving on to the Truly Me dolls, and there are 40 in here. Number 13 is Lily. I think longtime viewers have all heard the story of our number 4s, but I know first-time folks haven't, so I'll try to strike a balance with the length of her story. Lily is our third number 4. The first one was a catfishing disaster where tons of issues were not revealed by the seller, and I ended up getting a refund. They told me just keep the doll, so I was actually only out the cost of shipping. Lots of elbow grease later. She looked great, but I just didn't love her, so I ended up selling her. Then I got a second one that my daughter picked up at near her university and brought to me. She did not need near as much TLC, but after I fixed her up, I felt like her color was so faded, like even her limbs, and she just looked odd in groupings with other dolls. So we called the Berry line and they double checked and said, yep, we've got replacement heads, send her on in. Joke was on us. They sent her back in the mail and said, so sorry, we didn't actually have heads. So we decided to sell her too. The third time was the charm. So we got her from the same person who sold us Gwen, my older daughter's ex-friend's mother's house. Such drama. She was in amazing condition. Like fantastic, by far the best condition. I will be 100% honest and confess, she's still not my favorite doll. And I know, like, that might sound ungrateful, especially for people who have her as their like a holy grail doll. I am grateful for her. I'm really grateful that this one has decent coloring and that her pie bangs were in such fantastic shape. But I am that oddball who actually prefers the quote unquote newer, the AG head for a number 4. That said, it's kind of cool that we have every face sculpt represented in our collection. And this one is, like I said, the best by far of the 3 number 4s we've had. So unless I was able to trade for a newer AG one, I think she will remain the number 4 of our collection. Fun fact, her name is Lily. Lily is also the name of my wife's cat. I don't claim the cat because I don't really like her. And the second number 4 that we had, the one that I thought we were going to keep, we sent into the hospital, was named Cat, short for quatre, which is French for number 4. So, yeah. Odd threads of connection. Number 14 is my 11, Latia. This doll is precious. She basically came in and looked around at the top 20 and said, kindly, of course, so who's moving to make room for me? I'm not generally a big pie bangs fan, and I don't want all the rare dolls just because they're rare, but there was something about this girl. Like, I kept hoping that I would just happen upon her at an amazing price the way I have with some of our other pricier dolls. But after almost 2 years of waiting and hoping, I decided I'm just going to bite the bullet and treat myself. And I love her coloring, the amazing condition of her hair, and how she looks just brings me lots of nostalgia. It's not because she reminds me of my childhood dolls, but she just reminds me of my childhood in general. I had a classmate who looked similar to this doll, and so Latia just evokes that era of my life in a way that number 4 or some of our other early dolls don't. Her full name is Latia Margot Waitworth, and I can link her unboxing video and her longer backstory in the backstory video in the description of this one. But yeah, shout out to Kaylee at AG Star 91 for helping me find her. She is amazing. The doll and the AG tuber, both amazing. Number 15 is Lark. So Lark is the second doll that we have purchased from Once Upon a Child. So far, it's just been the 2 dolls, Kira and Lark. Both were spontaneous decisions, like impulse buys, if you will. Grace got her because it was toward the end of 2023, and I was getting really close to having no money left in my doll budget. So I was like, that's you, if you want to get her. And I do remember there was another doll in a different outfit in the display case. It was a Truly Me dress, and Lark was wearing the brocade cream and gold dress. I can't remember the name of it, brocade dress or something. It's really pretty, but we already own it. So we asked the employee if we could switch their outfits so that we could get a different outfit. And they let us. Never hurts to ask, right? And it's funny because we once had a 25 that we got, I think, with our Leah doll. And we ended up selling her right away. I'm still not 100% sure what prompted us to get this one that day. But she's pretty and she's like Sage. Like, I'm putting her on the same list as Sage. Check back with me at next year's All My Dolls video and see if we've either given her more attention and gotten more attached, or if we'll have her as a temporary friend and then let her move on to another home where she'll be cherished. So, time will tell. Doll number 16 in our collection is Royce. We got her from someone in a Facebook American Girl group because she had recently been retired. And at that time, all of our Addie molds were darker skinned. So we wanted some mid-tone representation. With shipping, we paid $127 for her. We split it. And I think she's lovely. I know her amber eyes aren't one of a kind, but they're definitely not common for AG dolls, and I just love them. Also, I don't know about other people, but sometimes I find that Addie mold dolls' eyes can look a bit deep set. Like they look great in person, but sometimes they photograph a bit like they just kind of look like round dark holes. So when we have an Addie mold that seems kind of pronounced with, then the vinyl lashes seem to help. Actually, vinyl lashes help with a number of things, like lashes that aren't both curled to the same extent. So I recommend trying them out. We just get them on Etsy. Anyway, Royce is really unique in our collection, and I think that she's unique among American Girls dolls in general. And it was a shame that she was retired. By the way, her name was inspired by a fantastic colleague in our local sign language interpreting community here in Central Ohio. All right, doll number 17 is Prue, Truly Me 30. I got this lovely from Facebook Marketplace for $50, and I surprised my wife with her as a present for her 36th birthday. She came with some stains, and her hair needed restoration. We put some vinyl lashes on her because several of our Just Mold dolls have the same hair color and the same skin tone, and so the lashes just kind of distinguish her a bit. To be honest, I could see us adding a nose piercing or just some extra piercings in general. I feel like she's a bit edgy. She's not shopping at Hot Topic like it's the it store, but if she happens to pass one, she'll pop in, and she occasionally gets some crystals or moon jewelry or something, some fishnet stockings. She would be the girl to get temporary tattoos from Inkbox and to do so unapologetically. She just thinks that playing with her look is fun, and she knows that it doesn't need to be permanent to be valid. So that's my take on her anyway. Next up is doll number 18, Nell. Truly Me 31. So there are dolls that you have high hopes for, and you get them and they kind of fall short. And then there are dolls that you have high expectations for, and they meet your expectations. And then there are dolls that you don't expect to fall in love with, and they just blow you away. And Nell is that doll. When we got her, we already had Addie and a number 50. So by all logic, she should not have felt that unique. Like side part versus middle part is the only thing that sets her apart from 50, pretty much. But holy crap, she is lovely and she just holds her own. We got her from the online Madison Children's Museum benefit sale in 2022. So we didn't even get to handpick her, which makes me feel even more lucky to have gotten such a beautiful one. And I hate that the new Truly Me line has no dolls that look like her. Ugh. She looks great in everything. Fun note, we named her, and then later it occurred to us that having a Nellie already, naming her Nell probably wasn't the smartest choice, but it fits her. I don't know if anybody remembers the movie Nell with Jodie Foster, but gosh, it's been almost 20 years since I saw that, but I vaguely remember thinking that Nell was an underestimated character. So in that sense, I think that Nell is the perfect name for our 31 because we just were not expecting to love her as much as we ended up, falling for her. Number 19 is Scout. This doll was an impulse buy that I definitely do not regret. I think 38 is so cute. She kind of begs to be put in bucket hats and a bit older AG clothes. We got her from somebody's house. I remember it clearly because it was around Christmas time and the family had like 4 distinct loves that were on display. Christmas decorations everywhere, Harley Davidson motorcycles, the husband's interest, Jesus, and American Girl dolls. So they took us down to the basement. It was me, my wife, my younger daughter, the 4-year-old who was 3, and another doll collector we know. And they had all the doll stuff that their daughter had decided to part with laid out. This is actually a pretty common practice, and it was at least my 3rd tour of somebody's basement to go through their kids' AG stuff. Also, the name Scout had been on my doll name list for a while, and Grace had vetoed it several times before. So with jointly purchased dolls, we make sure to pick a name we both like, and this was a joint purchase. So I didn't even bring it up. This time around, I was like, I'm not even suggesting that name, but she just said, how about Scout? And I think she picked the perfect doll to use that name on. So I love that getting to use that name on a doll doesn't feel like she had to compromise. Instead, it was a question of waiting until we got the doll that felt where that name felt right to both of us. All right. Number 20, Violet. I got her in a Facebook Marketplace lot. She came with a McKenna that we sold, and I'd actually totally forgotten that we bought the two of them together. So here is evidence that keeping my spreadsheet updated is not a total waste of time and energy. I adore this doll. We don't tend to have many patterns in the way that we name our dolls, but I've noticed that we do have a few dolls that have color names. So Jade, our first 64, was the first, and Violet was the second. Since then, we have added Scarlet, Celeste, which is a blue, and Hazel. And then my daughter has Indigo, who is an 18-inch doll, but a different brand. So yeah, lots of color named dolls, not including Sage. I think that's all of the color named girls. Anyway, I wasn't sure how well she would clean up, and it was a gamble, but she was local and it was convenient enough to just take the chance. I am so glad we got her. 40 is such a sweet face doll, and she does consistently make my top 20. 21 is Lyric. So Lyric was the second 45 we purchased. I don't know why I put her first. Whatever. I was scrolling through Facebook Marketplace, and someone several states away was advertising their yard sale. They just happened to be selling a bunch of American Girl stuff, and in one of the pictures, I saw several dolls. So I asked about this one. Is it available? How much is it? Would they ship it? Etc. Also, random question, does anyone else consciously code switch and call dolls it instead of her when you're messaging a seller on eBay or Mercari or especially Facebook Marketplace? I just never know if the sellers are collectors or not, and if they will think it's weird that a grown person is calling a doll her instead of it. On a personal level, I do not care if they think it's weird. But if I'm trying to buy a doll that I really want, I'll definitely do whatever I can to be seen as a normal customer. Not so fun fact, Facebook Marketplace is also one of the areas of my life where I question whether or not it's okay to be out. So, like, what if somebody has this amazing JLY11 and I type, my wife will pick it up, and then they look at my profile and see that we're two women, and then they decide that it's suddenly, like, not available. If you're listening to this and you think that that's ridiculous, then maybe you haven't been on the receiving end of homophobia, because if you have, you know that it's not actually unheard of and it's not ridiculous. Anyway, back to Lyric. This seller was great. She sold us the doll and some amazing retired historical outfits that were still in their packaging. The prices were fantastic. I may put the unboxing video of the doll and those outfits in the description. But yeah, Lyric is a visual doll. So I believe that she was a display model in the old St. Louis store. And so she has visual written on her butt in marker, for those of you that don't know what that means. I love that she was a visual doll. Like, I love knowing that she brought joy to so many doll lovers, and now she gets to bring us joy. Like, a supermodel lives with us, friends. How cool. All right, but our original 45 is number 22, Journey. So her story is probably my favorite of all of the dolls that we own or have ever owned. And I know regular viewers know her story, so I apologize that this will be repetitive. Maybe there will be a detail in here you didn't know. But also, I just love her story. So I was browsing Facebook Marketplace, notice a pattern there, and I saw this doll listed, not listed as a 45. And so I asked about her. Would you ship the doll if I cover shipping and pay with a method that lets me add purchase protection? This Luddite seller said cash only and porch pickup, which is fine. That's their right? But she was in Wisconsin and she was $40. If you know anything about this doll, she goes for so much more than that. But as pretty as she is, I cannot afford going rate for her. So this was an absolute steal. I asked the woman, will you hold the doll so I can try to find somebody who might be able to pick it up for me? And she said, I'll wait until 11 tomorrow morning. It was like 10 at night or something. I don't know. It was like 11 at night and she said 10 tomorrow morning, whatever it was. It was like 12 hours basically. So I went on a couple of the AG doll groups that I'm in on Facebook, and I asked if anybody was in that area and if they could do a doll pickup for me. No, if you're wondering, I did not say which doll it was for because I didn't want somebody to swoop in and grab her. And I had a couple people respond that they were willing, but none of them could do it on such short notice. They were like, well, if they could wait a couple days, I'll be in that area. But I did not think this lady was going to wait. So, meanwhile, I had put the same kind of SOS on my personal Facebook, and a local friend said, hey, so I have a family member who's going to be near that area. And pretty soon she's going to head to Ohio for a family reunion. So let me see if she can help you. So to keep the story from getting too long, the woman and her daughter, who I had never met in my life, coordinated with me and the seller, and they picked the doll up the very next morning. So I paid my friend's relative through Venmo or PayPal or whatever. And a week or two later, for $40, like zero tax, zero shipping, I had the doll in my hands. I met up with my friend in my town. She lives 2 hours away, but the family reunion happened to be in the same town where I live. And I got this doll. So her first name, Journey, is pretty self-explanatory. Took quite a trip to get her here. Her middle name is Annalise, and it actually comes from the first name of one of the people who picked her up, Anna, and the middle name of the other person, Lisa. So Annalise. Her last name is DeForest because she is from DeForest, Wisconsin. So if you know my collection, you know that very few of our dolls get full names. Journey is very special, and I love her, and I love her name and the random acts of kindness that made it possible for her to join our doll family. I don't think she will ever not be among my top favorite dolls. Number 23 is Fiona. We got Fiona at the Madison Children's Museum benefit sale in 2023, the final Madison Children's Museum benefit sale. She was an impulse buy. We bought her on the second day of the sale when she was further discounted. I think she's lovely, but I don't think that Grace or I are super attached to her yet. It took us like 6 months just to even name her. I don't know. So far, I think Sage, Lark, and Fiona are in the same category of let's see how we feel about them in a year. And these three are classic molds. Coincidence? I don't know. Like, she is objectively unique. Everyone who loves 49 points out that this skin tone with these blue eyes is unique. And there's no arguing it. Her eyes definitely pop. I don't know. We'll give her some more love this year and see how we feel. I feel like sometimes that's all it takes to connect with a doll. Like, change their outfits, spend some time styling them, do their hair, take pictures, think about their story. Just give them some time and attention. So, yeah, we'll see. Number 24 is Delphine. I came across this JLY or Truly Me or whatever. I'm just calling all of them Truly Me, even though some of them predate the Truly Me name. So anyway, I came across her on, predictably, Facebook Marketplace, and a grandmother had her listed, and she lived about an hour from me. I suspected from the picture that she was a 50, but I also suspected the woman was not going to want to send me a bunch of pictures. So I figured for $60, she's a lovely Addie mold, and she's worth the drive regardless. So the woman who was selling her was super friendly. We had a lovely chat, and she was really happy to know that one of her grandkids' dolls was going to be loved. Delphine needed a bit of TLC because she had been someone's toy, right? It's to be expected. But she cleaned up really nicely. She is a bit more tomboyish, and in my mind, she's queer and a bit more sporty than most of our dolls. She is definitely loved. Number 25 is Kimmy. So this is our second 54. I don't know why I did it this way, showing you the second 45 and then the first, and now the second 54 before the first. Kimmy is a more casual, down-to-earth girl than our other 54. I think in my mind, she is less concerned with modern fashion trends. She tends to like looser clothes. I don't know why I feel that that's the case. Maybe it's because of the first outfit I put her in. It was the pants from the cargo pants outfit and like a zippered hoodie. Or maybe it's because her limbs came loose and I haven't restrung her, and I kind of like her being loosey-goosey because it means I can put her in sitting poses in the doll houses for extended periods of time without worrying about wearing out the elastic. Kimmy also has notched eyes but no paint in the corners. So you'll see the difference with the next doll, Maddie. like I said, Kimmy was I don't know if I said this, she was a Facebook Marketplace purchase. You could have guessed. She was $50, and then we let my 3-year-old daughter name her. She picked Kimmy. Number 26 is Maddie. Obviously, she was the first number 54 that we got. So when we went to the final MCM benefit sale in 2023, I was really hoping that they would have 54 there. I knew it was a stretch, but stranger things have happened at the benefit sale. So we had a pretty early entrance on Saturday, and there was definitely no 54, no 64, no 40, no older Jess molds at all. So when we came back from, we got other great things, but we definitely did not get one of the things I was hoping for most. So when we came back from the sale, I just kept thinking about Truly Me 54. So Grace and I started keeping our eyes peeled, and Grace came across one on eBay that had like a complete hack job done to the bangs. We bid on her and won, and then sent her into the hospital for a new head. So she went in with eye notches and painted corners, and her new head came back the same way. So that was good, because there was no guarantee that she would come back with the same thing, even though we put it on the write-up when we sent her in. There's no guarantee. When I initially opened her, I remember fixating a bit on some unevenness in her eyes. And I was like, I don't know. I feel a little bit disappointed. But as soon as we changed her outfit and we gave her a proper outdoor photo shoot, I was sold. Like I said, sometimes all it takes is just giving them a little time and attention. Number 27 is Sydney, Truly Me 55. She is the first American Girl doll I ever got, and I got her in my early 40s. So Grace had purchased a Facebook Marketplace lot, and Sydney was one of the dolls that came in the lot. Grace was probably going to sell her. But a couple times I just randomly mentioned how that doll, more than any that I had seen so far, looked like I did as a kid. And after hearing me say it a couple times, Grace decided, well, you should just have her. You should keep this doll, and she can be like your mini-me. And it really was, like, Sydney really was the doll that got me started as a collector. One of the names that my parents considered naming me was Cindy, and Sydney is just a rearrangement of the sounds in Cindy. So yeah, a few years later, I decided that I wanted to create a mini-me that represents me as an adult. And I briefly considered customizing Sydney. I even posed the question to viewers like, have two, customize this one, what should I do? And I think we all agreed that if I wanted a current day mini-me, the right move was to buy a doll for that purpose and leave Sydney intact. I'm so glad I did that. I associate things from my childhood with her, so even though I dress this girl mostly in current clothes, she has a soft spot for Punky Brewster and climbing trees and jelly shoes, just like I do. Number 28 is Ty. Grace bought her this number, she is a Truly Me 58. Grace bought her a little over 3 years ago from the American Girl website. She was not happy with the one that she received, and if I remember correctly, it was an issue with her eyes. She got a replacement, and I don't know, but I'm also remembering a doll that AG sent her that was like clearly someone else's return. And it might have been this one. It even had like the correct doll's face on a sticker that they just slapped over whatever face was originally on the doll box. It might be the first 58 that she got. I don't know if we ended up getting one replacement or two, but anyway, this is the one that she ended up keeping. And I split all of her curls in two. I think that 58s look great with the curls that they come with, but I think I'm just so much more attached to this doll because of her unique fuller curls. Like her wig is somewhere between a typical 58s and 112s. Fun fact about her, Grace originally named her Shay, but it just didn't stick. So she is one of the few dolls that we have that's had a name change. And Ty wears whatever in terms of color and clothes, but because of this one Pride photo shoot that we did with her and some other dolls, in my mind, she's always got a bit of dapper queer girl inside, regardless of what she's wearing. I do love her. All right, number 29, doll number 29 is Harlow. She came from the Madison Children's Museum benefit sale that was held online in 2022. So Grace bought her Real talk, I don't love her. I like 61 in general, not enough to have bought her, but I do think she's pretty. I'm not a huge classic mold fan, so it's got to be a particularly good one. And I think if Grace had gotten this doll at the store, she would have picked one with more color, like more lip and more cheek color. Also, I like the idea of vinyl lashes, but I'm not sure that these are my favorite because they are like a lot. They're pretty intense. So Harlow's not my favorite, but that's the case with some of the dolls that Grace buys exclusively from her budget. After all, there's a reason that I didn't go halves on them, right? But Grace likes her, and that's what matters in this case. Although maybe one day we'll add some color to her. All right, moving on. Lena. Lena was the second Truly Me 62 that we purchased. The first one we bought in order to customize, so she will be introduced later in the video. I just looked back at my spreadsheet to see when we got Lena and how much we paid. We got her in January of 2022, and she must have been at the height of her desirability because we paid $192 for a new inbox 62 on Mercari. Jeez. It's a good thing we split it. I mean, don't get me wrong. She's a gorgeous doll. We just don't usually pay that much. She really is absolutely beautiful, though. I mean, like simple, classic beauty. Those amber eyes and the medium length hair are both less common among American Girl dolls. And I think Lena is a doll that a lot of people wish was still available. I'm very glad she's a part of our collection. All right, doll number 31, Jade. The Deal with 64, A Brief History by Kristie. I wasn't super drawn to her. Neither was Grace. Not the ones that we'd seen in our local store anyway. Then in November of 2021, we saw her in one of the Christmas displays, and she looked so cute. So we bought one without thinking too much about it. This was a few years back, so we didn't scrutinize as much as we do now. We got her home and realized something's not right about her. I think it was her eyes. I can't remember. We decided to try our luck and buy one from the American Girl website, probably because they were running an online-only promo or points multiplier or something. So we went that route. And that one was also not good. So we ended up taking both of them back in to the Columbus store and picking out a different one, this one. And we were both happy with her. Grace has stayed happy with her and finds her utterly adorable. If I'm honest, I haven't. We got an older 40 Violet, who you already met, shortly afterward, and the older Jess mold just has my heart. Jade is an excellent example of like the mid-era Jess sculpt, like newer but not the newest, definitely not older version. So she's an excellent example of that era, but I have just come to accept that I'm biased toward the older versions. It was a joint purchase, so she stays, but if Grace decides at some point that she doesn't want her, she will move on to somebody else's collection. I do make a point to photograph her and not neglect her, though, even if she is not my favorite. All right, number 32 is, I'm just going to call her 64 2.0, and you'll find out why. So over 2 years later, we happened upon this absolute stunner. It was the same basement where we came across Scout, our 38, and she was wearing the silver and white Nutcracker Ballet outfit, and the doll and outfit were only $50, which is less than half the price we paid for Jade, and she is more than twice as gorgeous. Sorry, Jade. We snatched her up, and I absolutely adore her. I think she likes dance. And the ballet outfit was my clue, but I'm still figuring out what kind of dance she loves most. And I know she loves reading, but I'm not sure what kind of books she likes yet. She has remained unnamed so far because Grace said if we do sell Jade, she would want this 64 to be named Jade. So in order to not have this one get renamed, I've just kind of held off. But maybe I'll call her Jada or Jaden or something for now. At any rate, she is the 64 for me. Like, chef's kiss. She is beautiful. Number 33 is Tiana, a Truly Me 67. Grace bought this girl a couple years ago after she was retired. She was looking for an older Sonali mold, obviously the older one, and got this one from somebody on Mercari. I don't think she's as drastic as some of the newer Sonali molds, but her eyes are a bit more narrow set and deep set than the oldest ones. So I am a little bit sensitive to those differences, and I found her a little disappointing, but there are probably dolls in our collection that I'm very attached to that Grace doesn't find that impressive. So that is okay. Perfectly okay. Side note, I keep her hair like this all the time because I find the long curly hair is just a bit too long and lean when it's down, and this adds a bit more volume and interest to it. Also, obviously, we did not know that American Girl was going to come out with Princess Tiana back when Grace got this doll. So if she decides to get the new Disney Princess doll, we'll have to see if this Tiana gets renamed. Time will tell. Number 34, Oliver. Okay, so here's where we find out that I am no stranger to hypocrisy. A few minutes ago, I talked about how our first 64, Jade, has a sculpt that's somewhere in between the oldest and newest versions of the Jess mold. And I said, the mid-range is okay, but I still feel a bit meh about Jade. And now I'm here to tell you that I adore Oliver, who is also a middle era Jess mold. We weren't initially drawn to him, but that was mainly because of his haircut. Like the sides on this doll can sometimes just look a bit dorky. But this guy, he is so cute. It makes me so sad that he's no longer available. We have quite a few of the boy dolls, and I really like them. Also, we picked Oliver as a name because it's what we would have named our younger daughter if she had been deemed male. And we also have a dog named Olive. So we've got a cat and a doll, both named Lily. And we have a dog named Olive and a doll named Oliver. And all of those names are Harry Potter references. So, yes, all the trivia in this video. Number 35 is Teo. Grace got this lovely boy locally through none other than Facebook Marketplace back in either late 2020 or early 2021. I don't remember. But he was only $40 and he was in like perfect condition. He was one of those like the last dolls that a parent got for their child before their kid outgrew dolls. And it seems like those are often the ones in best shape because they're played with the least. So his name is actually Matteo, but we always call him Teo. In my mind, his family is Italian, and he is that rare mix of handsome but not arrogant. Someone has raised this boy right because he does not exude toxic masculinity at all. We need more boys like him. I would put him in the same category as Joss. Like, he's a doll that Grace bought, but if she decided to sell him, I would have to be the buyer for Teo because I love having him in our collection. So I couldn't stop her from selling him, but I would turn around and be the buyer. All right. Doll number 36 is Kingsley, a Truly Me 77. Like Oliver, his name is a Harry Potter reference, Kingsley Shacklebolt. I love the name Kingsley. I trimmed the sides of his hair so he looks like he's coming fresh from the barbershop. I was super nervous to do it because if you cut too much, you're going to see the wefts of the wig and there's no going back. But I had seen one other person, 77, who'd had a trim, and it was literally what made me want to get him. Like, it makes such a difference. It just looks so much like cleaner. I don't know. The two adjectives that come to mind consistently when I think of him are always dapper and kind. Facts about him: he has 2 moms and they own a coffee shop. And like most of our dolls, we've made him different ages to suit whatever our photo shoot needs are at the moment. But in general, I think of him as a young adult, like maybe 20-ish. And he's an only child. Yeah, that's what I know about Kingsley so far. Doll number 37 is Amara. This doll is so lovely, and I think that she recently, along with 77 actually, have really been getting a lot of love in the doll collector community. When they both retired, I think a lot of people regretted not buying them. And in 80's case, like, she was available one day and gone the next with no heads up when the revamped when the Truly Me line was revamped. So I think with all the recent Amazon and American Girl sales where she's been temporarily available again, people have been quick to take advantage and add her to their collections while they can. Our 80, Amara, came with bad eyes, but I have since replaced them and she looks so much nicer now. She can, like, look at the camera. I really like her. And I remember when we went to the store for the first time after AG revamped the Truly Me line. It was just like a day or two after. And we went to go see all the new dolls in person. And half the dolls on display were the new ones, half were the old ones. They were like right in the middle of changing everybody out. And I walked around the store looking at all the old ones. And I distinctly remember looking at 80 and thinking, there are no dolls like her in the new line. And I stood in that store and I cried over that fact because I just thought this doll represents so many girls and she's gone. Like, there's not a comparable replacement. And by the way, I don't think 109 is the same or a comparable replacement for many reasons. So, yeah, I maintain that it is a real shame that they retired 80. She's stunning and very representative, and I'm sad for all the people who can't get her. All right. Taylor, doll number 38. Grace and I bought this Truly Me 83 from another collector. And she and the two of us are in some of the same Facebook groups, and we knew that she also lives in Central Ohio. So in one of the groups, she listed her 83. At that time, the doll was still available at American Girl. So, we lived close to the store. Why not just go in and pick her out? But she had been given like the subtlest of face ups. She came with 2 Etsy outfits, her own wig, and 2 other wigs. And I think it was about $140 for all of that. It would have cost us $115 for just the doll. So we felt like it was worth it. Her actual wig is in great shape. I mean, probably needs a little zhuzhing at this point just to address some flyaways, but whatevs. And it's really nice to be able to switch it up whenever we want with her wig. It was also nice to get to meet Sarita, the seller, in person for the first time because, we'd had all these interactions but never met. So we named the doll Taylor because I know that the Marie Grace mold is widely viewed as the Taylor Swift mold if you're going to customize a doll. But with her light skin, and she had cowgirl boots on and this red dress and an Etsy wig that she came with, she just gave Taylor vibes. So that's the name we gave her. Doll number 39 is Quinn. This is the first new doll that I ever bought for Grace. In fact, she was the first doll that Grace ever received new in box directly from American Girl as an adult collector. I got her as a Christmas present for Grace in 2020. And I remember being excited that Christmas because I was not a collector yet. And I really did not understand this strange new world that my wife was diving into, but I wanted to be supportive. So I secretly got a used doll and I tried my hand at restoration for the first time. More on her later. And I bought this doll from Grace's wish list. So yeah, this is Quinn. And despite how much our collection has grown, last time I checked, Quinn was still in Grace's top 20. So she's definitely a favorite. Doll number 40 is Gianna. She is a doll that Grace handpicked at American Girl Place Columbus and has loved from day one. I am generally not a huge fan of the really brightly colored hair, but I gladly make an exception for her. It's such a rich purple, like it's plenty bright, but it's also darker. It's saturated, but not neon. I think it makes her so much more appealing than some of the other dolls with purple hair. I wish that this were the purple available in the CYO generator because I would definitely pick it for a doll. I think that her skin tone, her hair color, and her eyes being the light brown just combined to make a really lovely doll. And Grace picked a particularly good one. She's a Josefina mold, and both of her eyes actually look at the camera, which is no small feat. Gianna, I kind of think that she is cousins with Teo. I don't know the exact who's mom and who's dad and whatever, but in my mind, she and Teo are cousins. And she's a bit of a diva, not unkind, but she definitely does not lack confidence. And she is not afraid to remind you that she knows her value and expects you to as well. Not her monetary value, just, her value. She knows her worth. All right, doll number 41 is Tobias. He was a purchase that Grace and I made together when Amazon had a Cyber Monday sale in 2022. We each bought each other a doll for Christmas, and then we went halves on this guy. So he was $80, and yeah, well worth it. I've said it before. I like him so much more than the original blonde-haired classic mold boy because his hair is just so much better. Sorry to that other guy. As far as his personality, is employee a personality trait? Because in my mind, his most important standout feature is that he makes a good employee for like all the different shops and businesses in our AG doll village. He has worked at the coffee shop and the Mary Ellen's Diner and the pet boutique. He hasn't been a flight attendant yet, but maybe that can be his next thing. I think he's worked at the hotel, and he remembers everybody's names, and he's patient even when customers aren't. But other than that, I really haven't given much thought to his personality. I don't know. He'll probably work to put himself through school. What vibe does he give you? Feel free to let me know in the comments. All right. Number 42 is Karma. So that same Cyber Monday sale, I got this doll for Grace. It's funny because I got 85 for her for Christmas one year because 85 was on her wish list. And then 106 somehow made it on her wish list, even though they're basically the same doll. And I got this one for Grace for Christmas a couple years later. She maintains that they're different enough. And I do think, I see it. They're both lovely. Our daughter likes the show Karma's World. So I asked Grace if that was the inspiration for her name. And she said, no, it just occurred to me and it fit. I don't know. It's funny to me how sometimes their names come so readily and then other times they evade you for months. You can let me know in the comments if that's relatable. Number 43 is Luca. So if 106 replaced 85, then 107 replaced 68, right? If you remember what 68 looks like, it's basically her without the all the painted lashes. I never really thought that much of 68. She's pretty, but she just wasn't much of a standout to me. This girl, though, I don't know what it is. Something about her really drew me. So that same Cyber Monday, Grace bought her as my present. She wasn't happy with the one that they sent, but instead of processing a replacement, she just bought a second one at regular price and then processed a return for it and sent back the first one. As the return for the second one. I know sometimes people have had issues where they buy something on sale and then when they want to do an exchange, they're told that they have to pay the difference, which is ridiculous. So that's why she did it that way, just to avoid that nonsense. I think this doll is so lovely. And if you're familiar with that Truly Me, the journal book that they all come with now, she is the doll that I decided to fill that out about. I mean, I know you're not limited to one, but I was like, I can only handle filling in one of these books at a time. So I'm starting with her. And she's the first doll that I've been really intentional about, like both building a personality for and creating memories with in the way that I think AG expects their children customers to do. So it's been fun. Like I can tell you that her favorite color is yellow and her full name is Luca Renee Moretti. I know it sounds like a variant of Lila's name, but I picked her name before I knew what Lila's name would be. So anyway, I know her favorite TV show and foods that she wants to try and all of those things because I'm doing this journal book with her. And whenever I get that book completed, I'm sure I'll make a video of it, but it's still a work in progress. Next up is the 44th doll, who is 108. She doesn't have a name yet. So Grace had a few dolls on her wish list for Christmas of last year, so 2023, and 108 was one of them. The Columbus store had announced it was closing, but they hadn't closed yet. So I was still able to go and pick her out myself. And I was surprised at how easy it was to find a good one, because I feel like most face molds are known for some specific thing that's like their trademark defect, some specific thing that you have to look out for. And for Josefina sculpts, it's definitely the eyes that are looking in two different directions. So I was braced for having to look through a gajillion dolls just to find a good one, because we had to do that with Lila, the girl of the year. But look at her. She's absolutely lovely. And I was able to find several that looked like this. Now she just needs a name. And the name thing is definitely eluding Grace. Feel free to make some suggestions in the comments. Next is Deja. She is a Truly Me 112. This girl was a Grace purchase. a lot of them. Well, I'll get to that. Anyway, this girl was a Grace purchase, and she got her from the Columbus store at the same time as one other one I'll be introducing soon. They were the first two dolls that she got after AG revamped the Truly Me line. Me, I was still ticked about the revamp for a lot of reasons, but I do think 112 is nice. I feel like a lot of people were wary of her because a few people posted pictures of her hair straight out of the hairnet, and the comments were predictable and often like an undercurrent of racism, like wild hair, and but a lot of comments about a defective wig or it's a hot mess, or lots of assumptions informed by biases, and some people who are just generally curious about what does it take to make this doll wig look a little more runway ready than it does straight out of the box, which is a fair question. I styled her hair the way it looks in these pictures in about 10 minutes, and I think it's been pretty forgiving because I've done lots of different styles with it. I think she's really pretty. I do love her hair. She definitely demands her space on a shelf, though. Like, there is no crowding this girl and her crown. Anyway, that's Deja. Doll number 46 is Easton. She is the last doll that my wife ever picked out at American Girl Place Columbus before it closed in February of 2024. She already had a doll pretty similar to her. More on that doll later. So I wouldn't necessarily have gotten her, but my wife felt that the two were different enough. And as I've explained plenty of times, we have separate doll budgets, which is nice. So she got this doll after actually a lot of scrutinizing, like several trips to the store and just feeling like they never had a good one. So scrutinizing, especially the lips, I feel like the lips on the Marie Grace mold sometimes are just kind of crooked. The paint is kind of stamped on there crookedly. So yeah, she named her Easton because the American Girl store was located in the Easton Town Center in Columbus. Next up is Lilibet. So I mentioned that Deja, our 112, was one of the first dolls that Grace bought when they revamped the line. So this was the other one. So Grace got her in 2022, September, at the Columbus store. And said it before, but I'll say it again. I'm not a huge fan of the brightly colored hair. I think this one in particular can be hard to dress. I mean, I do successfully create cute looks for her that work with her hair colors, but there are just so many colors that I feel like she can't wear that to me, it doesn't make sense to give her a place in our collection. That's just me. I did I did style her hair in a way recently that a lot of you seem to like. So let me know in the comments if you'd like me to do a tutorial about this particular hairstyle on Lilibet. Let's move on to Sabine. Sabine is doll number 48 on this list, and she was technically a joint purchase. I wouldn't have picked her out, but we went to the Chicago store back in November of 2022, and we just split everything we got at AG during that trip. There wasn't a doll that I wanted. Again, this was like right after that line came out. I wasn't really feeling any of them, and I was still being, bitter about the fact that they did just like overnight retire all these other dolls. So I wasn't wanting a doll, but she picked this one. I don't dislike her at all. I feel like a bit of a broken record at this point, but our collection is large, and I'm the one primarily tasked with storing and organizing the collection. So sometimes I'm a bit more reluctant to add additional dolls to the mix. The one thing that did make me feel more excited about her was there was a time that I featured her in one of my 1 item 10 looks videos. I will link it in the description. And I changed up her hair with almost every single outfit that I created. And I really thought she looked so cute. I think styling her hair made me feel more connected to her. And by the way, her name comes from the Sabine Hartley Road or Sabine Hartley Highway. Anyway, it was some road that we passed on our way out of town, heading back from Chicago to Ohio. So that's her story so far. I think she's among, like, she's up there with our 86. Yeah. Gianna, in that she's like a little bit of a diva. She's kind of like in the modeling crowd. So, yeah. Mercedes is doll number 49. Grace had decided that she wanted this doll, and by the time she decided to get her, the Columbus store was pretty picked over pre-closing, and there just weren't any good ones there whenever she checked. So it happened that a local collector we know was in Nashville and was stopping by their store. So she and Grace messaged back and forth, and Mel sent pictures of all the 121s that they had, and Grace was narrowing down the options. I think she's lovely, minus the eyebrows, of course, because you know by now how I feel about them. I just don't think she's different enough. This was the pre-Hoffman twins era where AG went, let's make every single Jess mold have brown eyes, the same brows, and be brunette. Like, all of them. So it's no hate to any of the individual dolls. It's just a decision of American Girls that I don't really understand. So anyway, yep, there's Mercedes. Marley is doll number 50. If you're wondering which of us is more into the newer Truly Me line, I'll break it down. We have 12 dolls from the what's known as the newer Truly Me line. 12 of them. One of them is mine, one of them is ours, and 10 are hers. So that's who's more into that line. Anyway, I know that this is a very unpopular opinion, but this doll is not my favorite. She's a very popular girl, so I know that not everybody's going to agree, but it's the new Joss brows, the chunky highlights, the Julie blunt straight cut, and the curtain bangs. Like, I'm not a huge fan of any of those four things on her. I'll try to say nice things, though. Her bangs do look nice when I brush them to the side, and I really like her name. Moving on. Number 51 is 123. We don't have many dolls that don't have names yet, but it just so happens that the other doll I got for my wife for Christmas of 2023 is also unnamed. She better name my Christmas presents. I mentioned that I got Truly Me 108 for her for Christmas, and how easy it was to find a good one in the store. Well, with 123, the exact opposite was true. I took several trips to the store trying to find a good one. Some had more white showing in one eye, like underneath the iris, than the other, or one set of lashes was more curled than the other. And the lip paint, oh my gosh. Some of the dolls had lip paint that didn't extend to anywhere near the edge of their actual lips. But I'm really pleased with this one. And between her and McKenna, I do prefer 123. I think that they adjusted the face molds so that the eye sockets are a little bit smaller, and less, as a result, less white shows under the iris than with McKenna's eyes. And when I think about people, we don't typically see the white under their irises unless they're rolling their eyes. So this feels more natural to me. And I don't have a preference between the skin tones of the two dolls, but I do think this one is a little bit less shiny. So photographing her is a little easier. Anyway, got suggestions for a name? Feel free to drop them in the comments. Last in the Truly Me line, as far as our collection goes, is Bo. So she is the most recent Truly Me that my wife bought, number 128. And we were rewatching, that is, Lost Girl when she arrived, and the name Bo just fit. I don't know if anybody watches that show, but it's pretty good. She used a personal shopper at the Chicago store to get her. I think that's going to be the way that we get new dolls from now on. Either we get them in the store, which will be rare now that we have a much longer drive, or through a personal shopper. If you're not familiar with that, you can email me and ask me more, or talk about it in the comments, but they can send you pictures so that you can pick between a few of them. My last two dolls have been used, like the ones that I've bought, so it hasn't come up for me yet, but Grace has gotten a couple of them this way. Anyway, this is Bo, and now we're going to move on to historical. I'm going to go with earliest periods in history that the dolls represent, and then move up to the 90s twins at the end. So, Kaya. This is not a doll that you will see a ton of in my videos or over on AGIG, but she is so pretty. We weren't going to get her because most of our historical dolls spend a lot of time in modern clothes. And for whatever reason, this always feels a bit weird for me with Kaya. Like, there's so little Indigenous representation within AG, and I feel like Kaya just deserves to have her clothing and her collection on display. And we knew that we were unlikely to pursue her collection, so we figured, well, we just won't get her. And then Grace saw this one on Facebook Marketplace. I think she came with her meat and one of the powwow dresses and a couple of other things for, if I remember correctly, $140, maybe less. Anyway, we're keeping her in her factory braids, and even though she's used less, she definitely is appreciated. Also, as I have said before, her face always seems to say, this is someone who does not suffer fools lightly. She looks like, I'm going to wear this smile and tolerate your foolishness for about 5 more seconds. And I love that look on her. All right, number 54 is Josefina. This is one of Grace's childhood dolls from her grandmother. So she's going to be 30 in a few years. This doll is getting on in years. You will see even less of her than you'll see Kaya. Her eyes aren't aligned, and I don't know if that's something Grace will want me to work on at some point. It does make her hard to photograph, and she's pretty run-of-the-mill as far as Josefina's go. Like, she doesn't have gorgeous glam lashes, but also she doesn't have a haircut or anything either. So she's right in the middle, and her significance is that she's one of the 2 dolls that started it all for my wife as a child. Next up is Cecile. Like our 38 Scout and one of our 64s and one of our 54s, Cecile is a visual model from an American Girl Place store. She's actually the first visual that we ever got. So she's got visual written on her bum in permanent marker. We got her Grace got her for only $40 from somebody who used to work at the store in Columbus. And then that person decided to quit when they were calling the employees back to work in the store during the pandemic. I remember that she came with her meat outfit, and the woman had kindly refreshed Cecile's curls, so that was super nice. She and Grace had a nice chat when we picked up the doll. And by the way, yes, it was another Facebook Marketplace find. And I remember that Grace and I had a conversation on our way home about the woman's experience working at the store. And then we got to talking about what it would be like to work there and which aspects of it we would like most. I would want to create displays, unsurprisingly. But yeah, I just remember having a nice conversation about like fantasizing about the nice things of working at an AG store. Number 56 is Marie Grace. My wife got this doll either late 2020 or early 2021 through Facebook Marketplace. She was $70, but that included a lot of extra clothes, mostly off-brand, but really cute. So the doll herself was probably less than that. Her pin curls had been cut, and her hair was a bit fried. Probably if I'd gotten her now, I would have just restored her and kept the wig without its pin curls. But I was newer to doll restoration at that time, so my wife just bought a replacement wig. And it's heavy, and it was ridiculously long, so I cut it a bit. I have never loved this doll. The Marie Grace mold has grown on me a bit. I really like it on some dolls, and we'll get to them later. But I've just never loved this particular doll. Whether or not she stays is entirely my wife's call, though. So check back in a year and we will all find out. Number 57 is Addie. Regular viewers will know this story, but here goes for the newer folks. My wife got a Pleasant Company Addie after looking pretty extensively for one that she liked, and she was very happy with her. The doll's hair wasn't in the best shape, but not the worst either. And there was no silver eye, which was nice given her age. And then they came out with the 35th anniversary dolls, and Grace knew immediately that she wanted Addie. We went to the store so many times while the 35th anniversary dolls were still available, and she often considered getting Molly, but she always talked herself out of it. Addie, though, that was instant. That was a given. And in fact, she ended up liking this one so much that she decided she was okay with letting the other one go to a different home. So this is our Addie now, and she lives in historical clothes, which is kind of a deviation from our norm. Every once in a while, she plays dress up and she puts on a modern look for a quick photo shoot. But just know that on our shelves at home, she is in clothing from her era about 98% of the time. And like Kaya, she's keeping her factory meat style for the foreseeable future. Hairstyle, anyway. Doll number 58 is Nellie. Remember that I said the first Christmas after Grace got back into American Girl dolls as an adult, I gifted her 2 dolls. So one of them was Truly Me 85 from her wish list. And then the one I got secretly and I worked on restoring, that was Nellie. So this is that doll. I got her for $60 on Facebook Marketplace, and I helped her hair a little bit, and like got up early and washed it, and then took her and hid her in a different room, and I cleaned her up and I tightened her limbs. That was before I switched to restringing instead of tightening, and so back then I used the old ponytail holder hack. She came with her meat outfit, so I cleaned that and ironed it, and then I boxed her up, and I was so proud of myself. Never mind the fact that Nellie hadn't even been on Grace's list. It's just like, here, I think this doll's cute. And then after all that, I later realized she is in fact pretty orange, and she's had a slight haircut. So after she opened her for Christmas, we ended up sending her into the hospital, and we paid $45 and got a new head and new limbs. So everything that I had done did not really matter, but it was good. She was still the first doll that I ever worked on, restoration-wise. She is not in any danger of losing her place in our collection, but I would say she's one that we sometimes overlook, and I want to show her a little more love this year. Like, Nellie is a badass, and she's a survivor, and I'm glad that she's able to have an easier life with us than she was in her books. Maybe not as nice as Grand Mary gave her, but we can't all be obnoxiously rich. All right, doll number 59 is Rebecca. So the first new in-box American Girl doll my wife ever bought for herself didn't actually come directly from AG. She found someone selling a pre-Be Forever Rebecca new in box for $130, and she had specifically wanted the pre-Be Forever one. So I maintain that Rebecca is one of American Girl's underrated dolls. Her features aren't unique, but she's just beautiful and she looks good in everything. We actually have quite a bit of her stuff. In fact, I recently posted a video showing everything we have from Rebecca's collection. I will link it in the description, but you can also find an entire playlist of collection close-ups on my channel. Anyway, among our historical dolls, I think Rebecca is the most balanced in terms of she spends a fair amount of time in modern clothes, but she also spends a lot of time in her clothes. And she is the only doll that we own that has 2 rooms in our doll houses. So, fun fact about Rebecca. Next is Claudie. What can I say about this doll that I haven't already said? I adore Claudie. We got our Claudie the day that she became available in stores, and we looked through several of them to find her. Like, a lot of them had lip paint that didn't quite extend to the edges of her lips, and we didn't want that. Other than that, I didn't see any issues with the Claudies that we came across. They all had great eyes, they had even teeth, and she's just such a beautiful doll. The sculpt is lovely. And she also looks amazing in everything, historical, modern, different eras. She has the pin curls, but if you dress her modern, like they kind of tuck in with the rest of her hair, unlike Marie Grace's. So it's not noticeable and dated looking if you put her in modern clothes. Yeah. We don't have her bed, but we do have the bakery, and I can see it from my desk as I work. I love this doll. I love her collection. I love her books. And if AG ever sees fit to give her a catalog cover, I'm sure I will love that too. No shade. Doll number 61 is Nanea. We've had a few Naneas, so this always gets confusing for me. Grace bought a Nanea to have as Nanea, and then I later bought one to customize. And then I think we decided to keep the one that I bought as Nanea and to customize the one that Grace had purchased. So this might have been one that I bought, but since it became the default Nanea, it's more Grace's. Honestly, I think that we both adore the OG Nanea and the customized one, who you'll meet later. So even though one's technically mine and one's technically hers, I'm considering them both jointly owned. I know that some people don't care for Nanea's face mold, but I think she's lovely, and she has an adorable collection, especially her shoes. And she has my favorite AG pet. Melee is the best. And I think that she and Leah have 2 of the best American Girl wigs also. So, yeah, I'm a fan. Number 62 is Melody. She was the second American Girl doll that I ever bought for myself, right after I bought Gabriella. I really did have an instant love for the Sonali mold. I bought her on eBay for only $28.50. I didn't remember that, but I just looked it up. And having since seen so many Melody dolls with bangs that are too narrow or too short or too crooked, etc., I now fully appreciate just how much I lucked out with her because I was not the most discerning customer when I first got into this. And she seems to be an older one, like she has nice wide set eyes. I've heard a lot of people say that they don't want to buy her because of her hair. Like either they don't like the 60s flip or they don't know how to style it and they feel like they wouldn't be able to do anything with it. Let me tell you that I love her hair. I don't really care for the flip, but I love her hair. I find her to be one of the most beginner-friendly dolls as far as hairstyling goes because the texture and the length just make it super easy to work with. In fact, I have a video with a whole bunch of hairstyles that you can do on Melody, and I will be sure to link it in the description. So check it out if you haven't, or check it out again if it's been a while. Next is Ivy. This doll. She's very pretty, and she is our third Ivy, just like JLY4, third time was the charm. And just like JLY4, she's still not my favorite. And just like JLY4, I feel a bit bad saying that because I know I'm saying that about some people's holy grail dolls. Our number 4, Lily, though, is staying for sure. And Ivy, on the other hand, I'm not sure. There's a doll I saw a few years back on Instagram, and she's a Jess Mold CYO with long curly red hair and freckles, and we don't have any dolls remotely like that. Every Jess Mold we have has straight black hair. So I'm kind of tempted to customize this one sometime this year. In fact, now that I go back to the spreadsheet, I'm not even sure that this is the third one. It might be the head of one and the body of another. Anyway, at least 50% of our Franken Ivy came from eBay, and she might look like this or she might look very different in my next All My Dolls video. Time will tell. Next up, by the way, we do have a Julie, but she is my daughter's, and I'm not including a handful of dolls in this because they belong to our daughters. So I'm just including the ones that are mine and Grace's. All right, so next up is Isabel. Here is a doll that was all Grace. For me, the Hoffman twins, I feel about them the way I feel about Courtney. Like, I love their collections because obviously they unlock a lot of nostalgia for me, but I don't really care for the dolls. I love the length of Isabel's hair, but I don't love those brows. And I'm not a fan of the Felicity green eyes. I will say that I've learned if you put her in muted greens, like I did last fall, it tones down her eyes quite a bit. So that helped. I liked her better that way. And by the way, if you want to watch a really thought-provoking critique of the twins' books, YouTuber at Savvy Writes Books made a 3-hour video on the politics of American Girl. And in it, there's a section dedicated to the Hoffman twins. At first, I felt a little defensive when we were watching it because I'm always mindful of the very human authors behind the books. And I know that a lot of times it could be American Girl, the company, limiting what topics they're allowed to cover and how. But the video does make a lot of really valid points, and it is well worth the watch. So I will post the link in the description. Man, there's going to be a whole playlist just from this video. Next up is the last doll in the historical category, Nikki Hoffman. I do like her eyes, so she has that going for her. And I like her book, or her look. I like her book, but now that I've watched that video, I feel a lot more critical of the books. Anyway, I like her look. I like her personality. Give me different eyebrows, please, obviously. And I know it fits the time, but I don't love the chunky highlights that AG has been embracing lately. So she's probably a doll I wouldn't have gotten. Grace loves these two, though, so their place in our collection is 100% safe. Also, their bedroom that I created is by far one of my favorite of the 24+ doll rooms that we have. So, yeah. I love their room. I love their room more than them, but that's the way I feel about Courtney as well. And that wraps up historical. Next up is contemporary dolls. And as far as I know, American Girl has created 2 contemporary doll sets totaling 6 dolls. And at one point we had all 6. Grace purchased all of them. The first group of contemporaries consisted of Tenny, Z, and Logan. Tenny was the first one she got, and coincidentally was the first one to go. Z was the second one that she purchased. She got her in January of 2021 for about $150. And she came from an American Girl Facebook group from another collector. So she had been display only, and she was wearing her easy breezy outfit instead of her meat outfit. I have said it in other videos, but I think if Grace were picking a Z now, this isn't necessarily the one that she would select because of her eyes. She is still in like new condition, and her hair is super soft, like one of the nicest feeling wigs of all the dolls that we have. And we do have a lot of her collection. We've got her desk and her dog and her backpack and accessories and outfits and a few other things from her collection. I have read all of her books, and I really love her character. And her mom is a boss, by the way. If you haven't read those books, you should totally check them out. Next up, doll number 67 is Logan. He joined our collection in March of 2021, so shortly after Z's arrival. And my wife also found him locally on Facebook Marketplace. Well, Tenny was local, Z was not, Logan was. Like Teo, our 76, this guy had barely been played with. I swear it's when they're the end of the end of their collecting years. They don't get played with very much. So she paid $100 for him, but I remember that he came with a few extra outfits that we sold. So definitely less than that in the end. And he had the bad eyes. So for the longest time, I actively disliked this doll. I was like, when can you leave? And then at some point, we got another Logan in a random lot, and he had good eyes. So Grace stared at both of their faces back and forth often for a couple weeks, and finally decided that she liked this one's face slightly more. So I just swapped out their eyes and we sold the other one. Logan is still not my favorite, but I mean, we have over 100 dolls. It would be weird if Logan was my favorite, right? Like, let's be honest. But I don't mind his unique hand. That doesn't bother me at all. And we have his outfits as well as his drum set. So we've definitely, given him some of his collection. In our collection, Logan is most definitely gay. And around Pride, he will definitely bust out the rainbow and glitter. So that's fun. All right. Doll number 68 is Maritza. So the next group of contemporaries contained the World by Us dolls, Maritza, Makena, and Yvette. Grace got all three of them online the day that they came out. And so in retrospect, she was like, that was really risky. I should have just waited a couple more days and gone into the store to make sure that I got to pick them out. But it worked out. She's been happy with all three of them. I think Maritza's wig is beautiful. I don't love the orange undertones in her skin. And if you have watched my channel for any length of time, that's no surprise. I don't like her eyebrows. We know that. Or the fact that it's so hard to see her little teeth. They're just like hiding in there. Thankfully, Grace did give me the go ahead to remove her bottom lashes. And I think that improved this doll immensely. Like, I am team remove Maritza's bottom lashes. And in fact, remove a lot of these dolls' bottom lashes. I really do like her meat outfit, and I like her as a character, though. I love her book. The cartoon version of her story was so butchered, it was practically criminal. I will save that soapbox for some other day. But yeah, I think I am attached more to her character, and Grace is attached more to her as a doll. Next up is Makena. So she was the next girl in this collection, number 69. I have also removed her lower lashes, as you'll see in some of the pictures. I think that's a big improvement. I mentioned this when I talked earlier about Truly Me 123. I do think that Makena's eye sockets, being as round as they are, ends up leaving a lot of the white showing under the irises. And many people feel that makes her look much younger than she's supposed to be. I also just think it doesn't look natural. Like, people, you usually don't see that unless they're rolling their eyes. Again, though, I liked the book and the character more than I do the doll. And hopefully this doesn't sound ungrateful, because I've mentioned several times not being a huge fan of some of our dolls. But this is a shared collection. I don't know how many of you are in that situation where two collectors with some overlapping tastes and some distinct tastes are co-creating a selection. So yeah, it's bound to happen when we have a shared collection where we both enjoy the freedom to buy our own dolls within our budgets and then to have our jointly owned dolls. Number 70 is Yvette. This doll is beautiful. Her freckles, her hair, she's just lovely and she looks good in so many different historical eras. I love seeing like Pemberley Threads on AGIG uses her, and I think a lot of people use her as a model for their historical clothing. She is not what I had envisioned. I think I had imagined a doll somewhere between Yvette and Truly Me 127 when I learned that Yvette would be American Girl's first mixed race white and African American doll. So, yeah, she's not what I pictured. I really enjoyed Yvette's story. All three of the World by Us dolls have great intertwined stories, and I really wish that American Girl had at least given them each a second book. Like, would that have been so much to ask? Anyway, I am glad that in spite of some of the unkind comments about her wig that I've seen over the past couple of years, American Girl has opted to use it again, obviously in a different color with 127. And I think that both Yvette and 127 are very loved by the people who have them in their collection, with good reason. She's a really lovely doll. Next up are the Create Your Own dolls. We have 13 of them, and they fall into three categories. So, ones that we created, ones that we bought used, well, used meaning they were returns, and we got them from the Madison Children's Museum benefit sale, and ones that we just bought from people. So, like used. And even within these categories, they are not in order of acquisition because I started for some reason with Celeste. So doll number 71 is Celeste. She's one of the more recent CYOs we got. Well, we got her in March of 2023, so that's pretty recent. It's been just over a year. This girl was dirt cheap. She was part of a lot that we got for $100, but she came with a bunch of other stuff. So I think the cost for her was definitely less than $50. You'll see later in a few minutes that she looks very similar to another CYO we already have, but she's so pretty and the price was just unbeatable, and they look different enough that, imagine this, we had no trouble justifying adding her. The only tough thing about her was naming her. Her look-alike has a French name that is easy for French and English speakers to pronounce, and we wanted something similar for this one. So we tried calling her Odette for a while, and it just was not fitting. I think that Celeste is the only doll that viewers have helped us name. So many good suggestions that we got from people, but it was just hard for us to agree on one. So her name was a thing in flux for months, and we finally landed on Celeste. It is a shade of blue, but it also means heavenly, and she is. All right. Doll number 72 is Autumn. She is the second CYO that my wife ever designed. Wigs with bangs had been taken off the CYO generator quite some time before, but someone had found a workaround and shared it. So Grace came across the workaround and decided to jump on it while it was still available. And she made this absolutely adorable doll, and yet another redhead joined the league of dolls named Autumn in the world. Look, it does not have to be original to be right. It fits her. I think she's perfect, and it's really cool because she has a wig that was technically, like officially, no longer available, and she got the new freckle pattern. So officially, these two options never coexisted. Yet here she is. Same with Nora. So Nora's doll number 73. Grace asked me if I wanted to go ahead and make a CYO with the workaround being available. And since I was already planning to make a CYO in 2023, I decided, all right, this day is as good as any other. So Nora and Autumn obviously share a face mold and freckles and wig style. And then what's different about them is their skin tones, their eye color, and their hair color. In my mind, for what it's worth, they are not related at all. And I'm sad to report that I don't know of any other workaround that still works for people to order the banged CYO dolls. If somebody does, share the knowledge in the comments, but I don't have any workaround currently. I am happy to report that we were able to pass it on to several people before it stopped working. So that's good. We got to pay it forward. And I did have at least one person ask me for the exact specs so that they could recreate Nora. And by the way, yes, I gladly obliged. Quick plug for not gatekeeping. She is lovely, and the more of her in the doll community, the better as far as I'm concerned. Next up is doll number 74, Simone. I came across this beauty in the summer of 2022. She was listed as a local pickup on Facebook Marketplace, but was nowhere near me, like several states away, I think. So I messaged the seller and asked if they would be willing to ship, and they were. So, longtime viewers will know I've had an abundance of luck finding beautiful, affordable Sonali mold CYOs, and she kind of takes the cake. Especially at $40. Yeah, she was $40. But yeah, her red hair, her freckles, those light brown eyes, I think that she would be unique regardless of the sculpt. But those particular features on a Sonali mold are especially unique. And she is one of my favorites, of not just of our CYOs, but of all the dolls. Number 75 is Piper. She was another Facebook Marketplace find well below retail. That's 3 now, if you're keeping track. I remember the listing picture really clearly because she wasn't listed as a CYO, and the picture was just a bunch of stuff strewn out on a bed, and there were a couple of dolls mixed in. And I knew right away, like I zoomed in, and I was like, yes, that is a CYO. So I asked for some close-ups to confirm it, and it was, and I was like, yes. And the woman was willing to ship her. She came with a couple of extra outfits, including a CYO outfit that had been on my wish list already. So yeah, I bought her. I do like her, but I think Grace is probably an even bigger fan than I am. Fallon is number 76. So hers will be a familiar story for a lot of you, but Fallon was the first of the 2 CYOs that I have created. I was initially disappointed with her, and I tried so hard not to be. Grace and I ordered our first CYOs at the same time, and she was overjoyed with hers. And I wanted to have that same feeling and that same reaction, and I just didn't. Her eyes felt a little bit narrower than I'd hoped for. I knew I wasn't going to get an old Sonali mold because that era was gone by the time I ordered this doll, but I was hoping for as wide set eyes as possible. The bigger thing, though, was her freckles. They were lighter than I thought they would be, and they kind of like shimmered. If you've seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about, but it's the weirdest thing. Like, freckles shouldn't be shiny. And it was just keeping me from feeling connected to her for a while. And I finally decided, screw it. I'm just going to take them off. I would rather have no freckles than these pale, shiny, weird things. So I got out some nail polish remover, and I'm now thinking it probably was not acetone. So otherwise it would have taken them off really quickly, and it didn't. So, but I started in on them, and the weirdest thing happened. The first brush over with the nail polish remover took off like the first layer of the freckles, and underneath they weren't pale or shimmery, and it just made such a difference. And then I added this final eyeliner, and I think it kind of opened her eyes up, and it made them look a little bit wider set. So yeah, Fallon is my reminder that sometimes it takes some finessing to get there, but just to, keep trying, because in the end, I think she turned out beautifully. 77, Ren, is the CYO that Grace made first. And this is the one that she loved instantly, and the one that made me go, I want to feel that excitement and that satisfaction when I open Fallon. For those taking notes, Grace has created 2 CYOs, and both are redheads. I've created 2, and both have black hair. I don't know what that says about us, but it does mean we've ended up with some lovely CYOs. And we ordered our first ones, these Fallon and Ren, almost 2 years ago in 2022. And then we ordered the second ones in 2023. And at this point, I just checked with her. Neither of us are planning on making one this year. So probably no CYOs that we're creating anyway for 2024. Next is Naomi. She is one of the 3 CYOs that we got at the 2022 online Madison Children's Museum benefit sale. For those of you who don't know, that year they had well over 200 CYO dolls for sale, and they were 120 each. The organizers emailed everyone a catalog of all the CYOs that would be available, and they each got a number and a picture and a description of the doll. We looked over that list so many times, strategizing, zooming in, prioritizing, and deciding on a plan of attack. Naomi wasn't the first choice for either one of us, but we both found ourselves surprised by how much we liked her. And we, as we kept going through and narrowing down our list, we kept her on it. And I was like, I didn't think I'd want a doll with hair that bright, but there was just something about her. And fun fact, there were 2 identical dolls in that catalog that they emailed out. And we do happen to know the person who ended up getting the other one. So anyway, I had a few Sonali molds higher up on my list, but I had decided that if I managed to get one of the Sonali molds that I wanted, I would jump straight to this doll as my second one. So the fact that I got her means I did get my number 1 Sonali mold pick from that sale, and she is up next. So doll number 79 on the list is Rosalie. This girl was my top draft pick of the 2022 benefit sale, and I have no regrets about that. She is absolutely beautiful. We have very few dolls with short hair, and I love this bob on her. Even though she's not like a super close match, I don't know why, there was just something about like her pale skin and her blonde hair and that eye color that reminded me of Rosalie Cullen after she'd gone on a hunt and was well fed. Yeah, I can't believe I named a doll after Twilight. And one of you did the same thing. I remember because one of you were kind enough to tag me on AGIG to show me your beautiful doll that you also named Rosalie. So if you're watching, tell your Rosalie that mine says hi. All right, doll number 80 is Penelope. These next 2 dolls are the first CYOs that I ever bought. I got them both as Christmas presents for my wife back in 2021, and I bought them really close together, so I don't even remember which one I got first. They were literally days apart. Penelope was local-ish on Facebook Marketplace, so I had to get up really early and drive like something like an hour and a half to pick her up, and then another hour plus to get her home and hide her from Grace before she woke up. She came in her meat outfit, minus like one piece of it. And she came with her box and a few extras. I think some off-brand like scrubs or something. I don't know, a couple extra outfits for $50. All of that for $50. And she is the 4th Sonali mold that I've introduced that I purchased for under $50 or 50 or less. Want to meet another? Number 81, Giselle. So Giselle is Celeste's sister, and she is the doll that I purchased within days of getting Penelope. She was also $50 and also came with a bunch of extras, so technically both were under $50. The seller was not local but was willing to ship. I don't think that she is the most unique CYO someone could have created, but with her lovely wider set eyes, I do think she's one of the prettiest. And so far, I've mentioned Journey Annalise DeForest and Latia Margot Waitworth as having been given full names, since that's uncommon in our collection. Giselle Cordelia Teagarden was actually the first in our collection to get a full name. In her case, though, it wasn't so much that she had this special story that warranted that. I think it was because Grace decided that Giselle was the original diva of the crew, and I wanted her to have something that the rest of the dolls didn't have. So a full name became her flex. Look, it's a flex that's free, so it's a good one. She, Gianna, and Sabine they're all nice, but they're the 3 that are a bit on the diva side. Next is James. Oh, so by the way, Giselle, that makes a total of 5 Sonali mold CYOs that I've gotten for $50 or less. James was the last of the CYOs that we got at the 2022 benefit sale. She was Grace's first choice. And it was really cool how they sent the catalog out in advance. Because, like I said, we took time to scrutinize and discuss. And since we each had tickets and we each had a laptop, we both logged in at the same time. And then we immediately went to the CYO section to prioritize getting our top choices. And we both got our top choice. I don't remember which one was Grace's second, but I do know that she missed out on her. So we only ended up with the 3 only, whatever. But she was happy that I was able to get Naomi because we both had liked her. Anyway, this is James, and she is very pretty. Then Bree is number 83. She is the most recent CYO I acquired because I got her in January of this year. We named her Bree because my younger daughter has been really into either being or having me be named Bree in our imaginary play recently. And I like that this doll's name will always remind me of a specific developmental stage in my daughter's life. So that makes it special. Bree was a Facebook Marketplace find for only $30. So that technically makes the 6th CYO I've gotten for $50 or less, but she is not a Sonali mold, so she doesn't count toward that total anyway. I think she is literally the only Addie CYO mold that I have personally come across on Facebook Marketplace in the past 4 years. Not like there were others that I saw, but they were too expensive, or there were others that I saw, but by the time I saw them and reached out, they'd been sold. No, she was the first one that I have personally come across. So, of course, I snatched her up because not only are Addie Mold CYOs on resale hard to come by to begin with, and her price was ridiculous, but she happens to be very, very pretty. Let me ask you, though, and you can answer in the comments. Do you think I should keep her eyes this blue color or change them to either the Tenny or 80s Truly Me 86 light brown or the Truly Me 26 / Truly Me 62 amber color? Which of those 3, the blue, light brown, or amber, would look best on her? Next up are the custom dolls. So anybody who has had so much as a wig change is going to be in this category. And there are 16 of them. So we're going to start with the Mini-Me dolls. Ingrid is Grace's, and she's a Joss mold with Marie Grace eyes and a wig that she got from someone in an American Girl Facebook group. I think it's Exquisite Doll Designs, but don't hold me to it. They both have the same black glasses, and they're both lovely. It took a while for Grace to decide on a name, but she eventually went with Ingrid because that's the other name that her parents were considering for her. So I love that we have lookalikes to twin with, and that if we want to create scenes with the doll versions of ourselves, we can. So that's a lot of fun. I know some people are big fans of mini-me's and some people don't see the point of them, but obviously we like them. Next up is my adult mini-me. So Casey, I already said I had decided to keep Truly Me 55 intact as Sydney. That's the doll that represents me as a child. And I have a whole video too, actually, about the making of this doll. I can link them in the description. But the short version, for those of you who don't know about her and also don't want to watch an extra video to find out, is this. I got a doll from someone on AGIG to customize. She was a different number than she was advertised to be, and she had lined eyebrows instead of the feathered ones that I was expecting. So I ended up sending her head to a customizer who not only pretty accurately replicated my own eyebrows, but also added some age spots and freckles at my request. I gave her a Muzi wig from Amazon, gauges in her ears, a wedding ring, a matching tattoo on her wrist, and a requisite beanie to match me. We have matching shirts and matching jean jackets, and she is the oddball in our collection because out of our entire collection, she's the only one without AG brows. So her eyebrows are the only ones that have been painted on by an individual. But I do really like having her and Sydney both. Oh yeah, and her name comes from 2 of my initials, K and C. Next is Ash. We picked this doll's name literally for this video because a couple of months ago I revealed this custom and I mentioned that they would probably end up being fairly gender fluid. I removed his lashes and gave him this wig, but I didn't glue it down. So he might sometimes wear a different one and might present differently in our collection. They is probably their preferred pronoun, but for now, the pronoun use is flexible. So anyway, I invited viewers to offer gender neutral names, and you all did not disappoint. There were so many. So just a couple minutes ago, Grace and I reviewed them all again and settled on Ash. So here, once again, is Ash, who can go by he, they, or she. Number 87 is Brooklyn. This is the first 62 that we ever bought, and we bought her in a Facebook group because someone else in that group had rewigged their 62 with exactly this wig, and we just loved it. It was such a beautiful combination. So we got our intact 62 Lena in January of 2022, but we'd gotten Brooklyn 7 months earlier in May of 2021. This one's hair, the 62 wig hair, wasn't in perfect condition, but it was good. It didn't really matter to us. What's crazy to me though is I looked back on our spreadsheet, and even with a so-so wig, we still paid $110 for Brooklyn. And then we had to add in the cost of her wig, and she wasn't a cheap doll. But after she retired, 62s just weren't cheap. And she is worth it though, because we never glued down her wig, the wig that prompted her purchase in the first place. So we do use it a lot, but we also get so many other looks out of her. Doll number 88 is Willow. When I was covering all the Truly Me dolls, I said that it was interesting that my wife got Easton her 115 when we already had a similar looking doll. This is the doll that I was referring to. Now, I know that they are different. Willow is a custom 116, so she has blue eyes, while 115 has gray. But that's not a huge difference. And this wig is shorter than 115's. But again, not a huge difference. But Grace liked them both. Like most of our customs, her wig is not glued down, but this is her default wig. Like most of our customs have a default wig, whether it's, glue or no glue. And yes, this doll was 100% inspired by Evelyn Rose AG. Evelyn created an identical doll named River with this Zazu wig, and it's a beautiful combination. I'm not surprised. She has a great eye for good combinations. All right. Doll number 89 on the list is Margot. Margot came into our collection either in December of 2020 or January of 2021. She's a Julie whose wig was wrecked. We got her in a lot with 3 other dolls and a ton of accessories, and she became our original wig swapper. I originally put the Erin wig from Zazu on her, and I considered it her default wig. But she spends so much time in other wigs that I don't know if I still consider it her default. Or like if I really consider that she has one. But I guess so. If I had to dress all my dolls to be put on display for a full year and not mess with them, like in a very not appealing hypothetical, I would put her in the Erin wig. So I guess it's still my go-to for her. Her place in our collection is more functional than sentimental, so I could see her going at some point, but not anytime soon. Number 90, Primrose. Well, covering her first is a bit of a spoiler, but here's Primrose, the second Shimmering Silver limited edition doll that I bought. So I'll tell you about the first one in a few minutes, but Prim's story is that as much as I've shown some ambivalence about the Marie Grace face mold, with Marie Grace herself and with 115 and with 116 and even a little bit with Covey, this doll, I immediately and strongly knew that I loved the Shimmering Silver doll. I customized this one by cutting her hair. It's not short. It's just not, the other one is like insanely long. So cutting her hair and replacing her very glittery lips with darker matte color lips. It effectively turned her into a doll that I can put in more everyday looks, and I absolutely love the results. She has been wearing Be Forever Molly's meat outfit for a couple months, and I'm torn because I want to see her in something different, but I am still so smitten every time I look at her in that outfit that I don't know if I want to change her yet. Maybe tell me in the comments what you'd like to see her wear, and perhaps you can inspire me to change her outfit. Number 91 is Laurel. Laurel is a rewigged Yvette. Her wig isn't glued down, but Grace purchased this second Yvette in August of 2023. It was either in a Facebook group or an AGIG story sale. I don't remember. She was only $60 shipped. So, yeah, that was super cheap. And Grace's original plan was to go with this lighter wig and to change her lip color the way that we had seen another collector do. And then she couldn't decide on a signature wig for her because these both look really good. And she decided that she might still change the lip color at some point, but she was in no hurry to do it yet. So, not that Laurel has to have a go-to wig, but feel free to comment which one you would pick in the comments, the lighter one or the darker one. Number 92 is Hazel, our custom Claudie. In case you missed the recent video where I tried 7 different wigs on her, I'll be sure to put the link in the description. She, like Claudie, looks amazing in everything, and I can guarantee you that we will not glue down her wig because she deserves to wear any look her heart desires. For anyone who's never had a doll whose wig isn't glued down, a common question that I get is, does it stay on? And the answer is yes, but the more complete answer is yes, like how well it stays on depends on the wig. A couple of options that would help it stay on better is putting a rubber wig cap on first, or using a bit of double-sided foam tape or a glue dot just at the crown of the head to lend the wig a bit of extra grip. But yeah. Anyway, Hazel came from the 2023 Madison Children's Museum benefit sale in Madison, and I absolutely love her. Danny is doubly customized. She was a CYO that I found on Facebook Marketplace in the summer of 2022. My spreadsheet says she was $80, but I don't remember if that was pre or post shipping. Anyway, her ears were already pierced, but I further customized her by adding a bit of gloss to her lips, piercing her nose, and changing her wig. I don't know if it counts more as a customization or as a repair, but I also changed out her bad eyes for good ones. I don't think they're 100% even though, and I recently got some rubber-tipped tweezers, so I think sometime soon I'll have another go at getting her eyes just right. Danny's wig is not glued down, but since the day I put it on her, coming up on 2 years ago, I have not taken it off once. It is effectively hers, and I'm not sure she'd even share this wig if I asked. What else? Danny is most definitely queer. She is self-assured, both in her ability to flirt with another doll in the group if she so chooses, and in her ability to fix or make or figure things out. She is handy and stylish and a bit on the quiet side. She does not let people take advantage of her, but she is absolutely there for those that she considers friends. Can you tell by the fact that Danny has a more fleshed out personality than a lot of the dolls that I am a fan? All right, number 94 is Kennedy. This doll is originally a girl of today 3, and she's from my wife's childhood. She has tried and tried to remember what she named this doll as a child, but can't recall. Anyway, both this doll and my wife's childhood Josefina were brought to us by my father-in-law when he was visiting, like just prior to the pandemic. They and many other toys and goodies had been living in his basement for years. And since we had built our house and we had plenty of room in our own basement, he brought a bunch of stuff down from Cleveland. Opening the tub that contained her bitty baby stuff, her Josefina, and this girl, that is what started us all down the path to today. Kennedy was the first doll that she ever did an eye swap on. She was her first wig swap. Oh my gosh, those eyes that she first gave her were terrifying. I found a picture for you. So you don't have to take my word for it. But we later switched them to Blair's eyes. So she now has this lovely wig and these beautiful green eyes, and you'll still rarely see her in pictures or videos because she's just faded a lot and she doesn't fit a lot of the newer clothing as well. But even if we never photographed them or displayed them again, I think that both Josefina and Kennedy have a permanent place in the collection because they started it all. So yeah, sentimental value for the win. Number 95 is Zariah. She was a Truly Me 47. She doesn't have a go-to wig, but she has doubled as Amanda Gorman before. You'll see that soon. And she looks great in everything from locks to Nanea's wig, everything. She is our only doll out of 103 that doesn't have American Girl brand eyes. I also gave her false lashes rather than vinyl ones. I've only done that with one other doll. You'll see soon. And she joined the collection sometime around January of 2021 when Grace accidentally bought two number 47s. She had bid on one on Shop Goodwill and then bid on another on eBay before remembering that the Goodwill auction hadn't ended yet. So she kind of bid prematurely on eBay. And then she wound up winning both. So we sold one and kept one. Zariah was purchased with the intent to customize. So this is essentially how I've always known her. Next up is Alice. As is the case with many customizations that I've done, her alterations are pretty minimal. She's a Joss base. I swapped her eyes for Marie Grace eyes, gave her some lip gloss, and changed her wig. And that's it. And like our custom Claudie named Hazel, Alice looks good in everything, so she wears a lot of different wigs. I got her to customize in 2022 at the Madison Children's Museum benefit sale because we already had an intact Joss, but I'd seen several customs of her and the price was right, so I wanted to get one. Fun fact about her name, if our little one didn't have the name that she has, she would have been named Alice. Number 97 is Evie. Evie was made for us by Oh Dear Custom Dolls. She is a 26 base with brown eyes, light freckles, glossy lip color, and an Yvette wig. Her full name is Evangeline, but we just call her Evie. And we got her in November of 2022. I think she makes a great alternative to Yvette Peters. Even though obviously we have Yvette and we love her, I think that for people who wanted or were hoping that Yvette would look a little different than she did, given her background, I think that Evie is a good answer to that. All right, number 98 is Alexis. I mentioned before that I ended up customizing the Kanani I first bought and planned to keep intact. I chose to customize this one because the second one, in fact, had hair in better condition. So this one was inspired by Kira Bailey's Australian friend, Alexis, or Alex. I didn't change her eyes out because eye swapping a Jess mold still makes me a little bit nervous. And she obviously doesn't have an Australian accent, but when she has the right wig on, I think she's a pretty good match if you have seen the doll that they used as Kira's friend. Also, it was a lot cheaper to customize this one than it would have been to make a CYO. So, yeah. Also, this way, I get to change up her wig when I want. And I know that she has nice, even eyes, whereas a CYO would have been a crapshoot. Just like the character that inspired her went by both Alexis and Alex, so does this girl. So I use both of those names interchangeably. Number 99 is the last one on the list of customs. She is one of my favorite customs. I switched out her wig and she's like Danny, like it might not be glued down, but it's hers and she's not sharing. If I wanted to put this wig on another doll, I would just get a second one. She has false lashes like our custom 47 Zariah, and I gave her very subtle freckles that I really love. Like they don't often show up in pictures, but they are part of why I am so partial to her. I really like these freckles. I don't know if there have been changes to the Nanea molds that American Girl is currently using in the Truly Me line, but I am so much more drawn to the OG Nanea mold. Like, is it just that they removed the painted notches on her eyes, or is there something else? Let me know in the comments if you see any other differences, because for whatever reason, I like her better than I do 118, 119, and 120. All right, and that is it for the customs. So we've got just 4 more dolls. 3 of them are in the limited edition dolls category. So number 100 is Scarlett. She's one that Grace and I bought together. We got her from another adult collector without her meat outfit, which made the price more reasonable. We paid $175, so half of that came out of my budget. That said, I'm going to be honest. I did not realize that she had the same orange undertones that I see in Truly Me 79 and in Maritza and a couple of other dolls. It doesn't bother Grace at all, but if I'd realized it, I don't think I would have gotten her. It's not a major regret that's going to make me lose sleep or anything, but I just had no idea that she had those orange undertones until I saw her in person. She looks amazing in pictures, so I'll gladly use her for photo shoots, but I just don't think I'll connect with her. I do love her name, Scarlett, and I love her wig. And she did actually get to wear the outfit, like her meet outfit, because my friend brought hers over and let us use it for a photo shoot. So that was fun. All right. Elowen. Elowen is the only limited edition American Girl doll that I have ever like immediately wanted. She's the one that I would keep if we could only have one, a limited edition doll ever, probably. I never watched Game of Thrones. I know a lot of people said this is, giving big Game of Thrones energy, but I have seen the Lord of the Rings movies more times than I can count. And this girl is just the perfect embodiment of Lothlorien, the elf look. I love her outfit. I love her hair. I love her jewelry. Elowen and my custom shimmering silver doll Primrose are my favorite Marie Grace molds, I think. I know some people really dislike her glittery lips. I don't mind it, but it was challenging to find one in the store where the teeth weren't obscured by glitter. Yeah, so I get that. I will concede that it makes it hard for her to pull off a day look because that glitter it's a lot. But Elowen is pretty much going to live in her meat outfit or other fancy things, so she doesn't even need a day look. This is her look. That's what Primrose is for. And we only paid $45 for Elowen because we used rewards and gift cards. So I have no regrets about this purchase, or honestly, the second one of her. Yeah, huge fan. I'm so glad American Girl gave us this girl. Number 102. All right, drastic shift in enthusiasm here. Grace bought Belle for herself after she was sold out. I'll try to be nice. She was $350 shipped. For those of you who don't know, that doll was $300 originally and then tax on top of that. So buying her from the website, you're relying on fate or luck to get one with good eyes because this girl had a lot of eye issues, like this doll in general, not this specific one. But buying from someone directly, she was able to see enough pictures to know in advance that this was like the one. So to her, it was worth the few extra dollars that she paid to not have to cross her fingers and hope for the best about the eyes. And for those of you wondering, yes, Grace does plan to take her out of the box. She hasn't had her all that long. I don't know if or when she'll change her outfit or her hair, but yeah, she will at least take her out of the box. And speaking of Disney dolls, here's the last one. Most of you know that in 2023, American Girl released 3 limited edition dolls, Disney dolls. And then in 2024, they released 3 more. And they announced that these non-limited edition ones were going to be part of their new long-term line, like the Disney collab line or whatever. So the 3 limited edition ones, she got Belle and passed on Rapunzel and Jasmine. And then of the 3 more affordable, quote unquote, regular ones, she's gotten Ariel, but not Tiana or Cinderella. Yet. Time will tell on those 2. But she got this one by using a personal shopper at the Chicago store. The shopper sent pictures of 3 different dolls, and Grace picked this one, knowing that she had one eye that's slightly more rotated than the other one. We talked about it. If she wants me to fix it, it's an easy enough fix. But for now, she said, it actually doesn't bother me in person. So I'm good with her like she is. I do agree. It's way less noticeable in person. So unlike Belle, with this girl, I can tell you a bit about what her future holds. Sometime in the not too distant future, expect some photo shoots of her in more punk rock, edgy looks. And I think she's going to look fantastic. All right. Those are the 103 dolls currently in our collection. I didn't show you every doll that resides under our roof. So some of them are for sale, and I don't consider them part of our collection because I know they're not going to be here. Also, my daughter Annika's dolls, Julie and Lindsay, and our little ones, Emma, Melody, and Jenny. I didn't include either any of the non-18-inch American Girl dolls, including the 8-inch, the Welly Wishers, and the Bitty Babies. We have a few of each of those, but nothing over the top. For my part, adding dolls has slowed way down. Grace and I have talked about all of our dolls, and we did identify a few that we're ready to part with, some that are not in this list, and a couple that were actually. So keep an eye out on my community posts and both of our Instagram posts, because that's where we'll likely list them. Grace's is grace.agig, and mine is ag_takes_over. But yeah, what the doll head count will be in a year largely relies on my wife. But regardless, if we add 1 or if we add 10, next year's All My Dolls video will be much shorter because I'm not going to give this level of detail next year. And if you're wondering about some dolls that you've maybe seen in our collection in years past and you didn't see this time around, stay tuned. In a week or so, I'm going to post a video about every doll we've had in the past and have parted with. Sort of a to all the dolls I've loved before kind of video that I think you'll enjoy. Phew! If you watched this all, you are an MVP, and I truly appreciate you. Let me know if you did it all in one sitting or how many sittings, as I have never made a video this long, and I'm genuinely curious how many will watch till the end and how you approached it. Thank you again.